Hello, today you will all be learning how to create data tables and graphs in Google Docs and Google Sheets. So on Tuesday, all of you have conducted your lab and you should have gathered data. Most of you have already put this in tables. However, some of you have not, and so I'm going to start with making a table. In Google Docs, when you want to make a table, you want to say Insert Table. Now, for me, I'm going to create a table according to what my lab was about, which was mealworms and how much food they ate. Okay, so I'm going to have initial mass as a heading, and then in parentheses, I'm going to put G for grams. This is something important that you should always do is you put your units in parentheses, and then you don't have to write your units in the rest of the boxes. And then over here, I'm going to say food options, and we had apples, oranges, bananas, lettuce, and tomatoes. Now, I'm just making up my data. You should not make up your data. You should have gathered it on that day. So we're going to say that at the beginning I had 5 grams of apples, and in the end I had 4.7. And let's see, 5 grams of oranges, and in the end I had 4.4. Bananas 5 grams, 4.6. Lettuce 5 grams, 4.3, and tomatoes 5 grams, 4.2. Okay, so once I have my data compiled, then it's really simple to come and turn this into a graph. So I will just come here and I will highlight everything, and then I will press Command C. If you're on a Chromebook, it's going to be Control C, and that's how you copy everything. Then I'm going to go back to my drive, and I'm going to say New Google Sheets. Because I'm going to just put this information right in a Google Sheet. And the reason for that is because they no longer make graphs right out from your data in your tables on Google Docs. And that's a new thing, not my favorite thing, but that's okay because I can just then say Command V and paste it right here into Google Sheets. And so ta-da, my chart is right here. Now some of you might wonder why you didn't just make it here in the first place. You definitely can, and that would be fine. The reason I don't is because I like the look of the tables better. So that's really it. Now, when you want to make a graph in Google Sheets, you always want to highlight the information that you want graphed specifically. So at that point, I'm going to highlight all of this before I click on the one that looks like a graph of Insert Chart. As you can see, as soon as I clicked on that chart option, ta-da, I have this graph in here. Now, on first glance, it looks great. However, there's some things that can be revised, and so we'll talk about that. First of all, you can change what kind of chart you have, and so they gave me a column chart, which actually works great, initial mass, final mass, so you can visually see how much mass was lost from each food item. So that's phenomenal. But they give you all these different chart options that you can choose. So if you feel like there's a better chart for you, by all means, check that out. All right. So then there are other things that you might want to look at. For example, we have it says use row 2 as our headers. And so I did use row 2 as our headers, and that was a good thing in this case because I've got my labels here. It tells food options, initial mass, and final mass. However, there's some things you can do when you customize these things. And this is a great one where we say chart, axis, and title. So the chart title, if we're working on the title right now, it says initial mass and final mass in grams. That's great, but I could also say food eaten so that people have a better idea of what we're looking at here. And I'll just say mass lost, and it's a title, so all capital letters, and then in parentheses put grams. All right, as soon as I do that, notice, ta-da, my title has changed. If you're like me and you like center alignment for titles, you can change your alignment here, you can bold it, you can italicize it, you can change your text color. So you have all sorts of options there, okay? The next thing though, if I come back to chart title, I have a chart subtitle I can use. I have a horizontal axis title, which remember horizons like horizon lines, so that's here where it says food options. I'm happy with that. And a vertical axis title. I currently have none. You should always label your axes. That's actually worth a point. So I need to come to my vertical axis title, and I need to just say mass of food and then in grams. Ta-da! As soon as I do that, it pops up over here and it's done. Again, I can change the way it looks, but that doesn't really matter, okay? So there are more ways to customize your graph. However, at this point, I have a title, I have my units labeled, I have my horizontal and my vertical axis labeled, and I even have a key that tells me what I'm looking at. So this graph looks perfectly ready to go. So I'm thrilled with that. So now I've got a chart, my data table, and I've got a graph. How in the world do I get it back in my lab report? Well, to be quite honest with you, today, the only thing you need to do is make sure that I see that you created a table and a graph. And attached to this assignment, there's a template of a blank Google Sheet that you can just use to do that. And then when you're done, you turn it in, because every single person is turning in a graph today, because I want you all to practice this skill, because you will need to know how to do it. But for on Friday, when you finish your lab report, it's really important to know how you can go about inserting that information right into here. So I want to show you that. As promised, it's really simple. You go to Insert, and then when you see Chart, this time you're going to say From Sheets, because now I've created it in my sheets. I'll click on the one that I want, which is right here, and then I can say, oh, I don't want it to link to spreadsheet. I want to click on it, sorry. And I can link to the spreadsheet too, that's fine. And it'll import right where I had my cursor. So now I have my beautiful table. I have my lovely graph, and all I have left to do on my lab report is my results and my conclusion. And don't worry, you will finish that tomorrow. So have a wonderful day, everyone. I look forward to seeing your charts and graphs.